Remember, understand what the court said in DeRolf. Before they said, we're done with DeRolf because the legislature had made significant changes. That's the part that somehow hasn't been reported as often, but that's what the court said. The one issue in this funding formula is we equalize essentially between rich districts and poor districts. And we even gave you the helpful state share percentage on the side to see how that's done. Remember, the state baseline formula is an equalized number of where we're spending the money. And so this plan does that. We're effectively trying to reduce the differentiation between school districts. Remember, the DeRolf didn't say you can't rely on property taxes. What it said is that you can't have a system that disproportionately provides inadequate resources to poor districts, and rich districts don't seem to have that problem.
Again, rich and poor, is that determined in terms of property wealth, or is income rolled in as well?
Both.
Yeah, we continued what the governor started in terms of a primary emphasis on property valuation. We also continued with the concept that that's done in this version as was done in the House with a 3-year average. Because what happens in the state of Ohio is a triennial update. So you have a district that goes 0% increase in 1 year, 22% the next year because of triennial update, 0% the next. So we use the 3-year average to bend that example I just mentioned down to about 7% overall.
Some of my districts.
Just some districts in Mercer County in particular. So
You look.
when you look
not until after we were done with formula.
When you look at this spreadsheet, and I have for many members and question specific districts, these two columns that talk about that percentage valuation on a 3-year average really gives you an indication as to where the state formula proposal, as we have it here, is driving dollars to districts. It's not about rich or poor. It's about their property valuation, yes, but it's about changes in that as well. So this formula, back to your constitutional question, I believe is not only constitutional, but I believe it's more fair and equal because it bends with the property valuation changes throughout the state and drives the dollars to the districts based on that primarily.
But are incomes of residents of the districts considered as well?
We looked at an income factor and actually trying to balance an income factor with the property valuation factor, and ultimately I think it relied too heavily on local district share. And so again, we went back to build on what the House and the Senate did, and now our property valuation. I'm sorry, the governor and the House did, and now riding with the property valuation because I believe it is a true form of wealth out of all the other factors that you could equalize throughout the state and drive dollars to districts.
Other questions?
Has the funding for the Ed Choice voucher expansion been maintained or changed in any way?
That is an issue that is outside of this discussion today. We're still considering that. Remember I said we're still taking amendments until 4 o'clock today before we consider the omnibus. So that's not something we're here to talk about yet.
Is there any performance-based funding?
No.
So are most districts going to see an increase? Are there any that are flat funded or seeing a decrease?
There are guaranteed districts. 176 districts are on the guarantee. And remember, you're on the guarantee for a lot of reasons. In some cases, it's because you've lost students. In some cases, significant student population loss. In some cases, you're on the guarantee because your property wealth, go back to your question, has gone up. And that means that would increase your local share and decrease your state share. Well, the guarantee essentially means you're going to get the same amount without regard to that adjustment. And so some districts, the answer is yes. But remember, as their local share went up, their local revenues also went up to account for that. So they'll have more resources to allocate. And if they've got a decreasing student population, they'll have more revenue per student to also allocate the education of the students that are there. So that's where the guarantee kicks in. One more question, John.
Have you changed the structure of the state straight A fund at all? I noticed in the unveil yesterday there were quite a few earmarks taken from that.
I think Randy, I think that's essentially still under discussion here. Essentially, it's the same right now.
Yeah, the only thing we know for sure is that the Senate will invest more in the straight A fund based on the testimony and based on the priorities of the caucus and working with the government. But in terms of the mechanics of the program, that's still something we're working on over the weekend, and we'll have more to say on Tuesday.
the numbers we mentioned to you anticipates a $50 million investment more in the Senate on the straight aid fund. So that offsets any of the discussion, more than that. Yeah, I said at least. And so we're trying to figure that out, and part of that is the old discussion as to where we're gonna end and make sure everything works the way it should before we commit to our last decimal place penny.
That's what we're buying into, right?
Yes. Yeah. Unless we said otherwise, I think the numbers we gave you were about all binding numbers. All right. Thanks a lot. We have the spreadsheets. Again, I urge extreme caution on using those numbers as the final product.